Welcome to video 3 of the Rainmaker project. So in the last video I made a really big mistake, or I didn't make a mistake, I just forgot to do something kind of important. Um, so to catch you up to speed, right, we made this. We've got a class for drops, and the drops are dropping. And if you look down the console, it's telling me my score whenever I catch a drop, supposedly catch a drop. I get a score, but watch what happens. I'm getting points even though they're not actually falling into the bucket because I forgot to do something really important. Down here, the way I have it set up is the drops are checking to see, let me play that again. The drops are checking to see if they've basically collided with, or they've hit the same Y position as the bucket. And if they did, they get a point. But I didn't actually check to see if it's within the constraints of the right and the left part of the bucket. So it doesn't matter where on the bottom of the screen, once they hit the same Y position, I get points. And that's just not a fun game. So let's go add that part in. So here it is. I'm checking for the Y. Well, I'm also checking to see if it's alive first. That's a whole nother thing. You have to watch the other video to know what that's all about. So I'm going to put that at the top here. If this is alive, I want to make sure that it, doesn't, well, anyway, you can watch the other part to know what that means. If it's alive is true. If it's true and the drop gets as low as the bucket, and if it's on the, you know the drill, right? If it's past the left side of the bucket but not quite past the right side of the bucket. So how do we do that? This dot x is greater than bucket dot x minus, because I'm in rec mode center, minus bucket dot width divided by 2. I should just use a regular rec mode. I don't know why I do this. And this dot x is greater than, no, is less than bucket dot x plus bucket dot width divided by 2. So plus the x plus half of the width. Da, da, da. Is that right? Okay, so it gets down to that point and then it checks to see if it's within the right and the left of the bucket. Let's see if that works. We'll check the console. So I shouldn't get any points. Nope, no points. Point. Yay, it worked. Okay, sorry about that. That was probably driving you crazy, right? When you were watching that? You're not checking for the left and the right. Much better. Okay, so what's next? What do we do now? This is great. We could go on all day catching raindrops, but at some point, you kind of want a challenge. You want the game to end and see what your score is and all that good stuff. So the way I'm doing this game is how many raindrops can you catch within blah, blah, blah seconds. So I think I had the other one set up for 10 just for development purposes. So let's, we're going to need a counter that's going to tell us when time is up. And we're going to need a game over function. And there's a lot of, this is where the game, this is actually the hardest part sometimes of putting these programs together, is all these little like gears and cogs and everything. So where do we start with this? Okay, we're going to need a timer. Timer. Okay. Okay, let's see. What do we want our timer to do? Okay. We know from previous projects how to make a timer using the milliseconds. So in this case, we are going to make a timer. That's what we're going to do. Yeah, so where do we put it? I don't know. Where do we put it? Okay, we're going to set the timer. We don't want well, we don't have a start play button yet, so we're just going to have to start it when the program starts up. So we're going to set, I like to also make a variable called interval, which is, your timer is getting reset over and over again every time it hits the interval. So the interval is actually how long the timer is. It's what you set, the interval is what you set the timer to, and I'm going to set it to, what did I have it at? 10 seconds. So 10,000 milliseconds then. That's what we're dealing with here. And then when it starts, we're going to say timer equals, and then we're going to say the milliseconds plus millis plus interval. So it's going to set the timer is going to be set ahead. In this case, 10,000 seconds ahead of what the milliseconds are at the moment when the game starts. And then we're going to have to check to see when the timer goes off. So if timer, if timer all of a sudden is less than the milliseconds, meaning the milliseconds have caught up to the timer, then what do? We're going to, well, let's just console something so we know what's happened. Game over. Console log game over. And then we want to reset the time. In this case, I'm going to reset the timer. Oh, let's just do that first. Let's just do that first. Stop. Start. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Yes? No? No? Yay! Game over, game over, game over. Okay, cool. So our our timer is working. Now, okay, so we want this timer to actually do something. We don't want it to, what we really want is like some sort of function called game over that handles all the stuff that happens when the game is over. So what we want to do at some point is write a function called game over. Okay, and I'm not putting anything in here yet, but we want game over. We don't want it to happen over and over and over and over again. So we need to probably have a variable that, because we're going to want to reset the game as well. So how do we do this? So milliseconds, what it's going to do is, we're going to have, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a variable called game on, and say true for now. We'll change it to false later when we have like an opening screen and a button that you press to start the game, but we don't have that yet. So we're going to say game on, start. Game on is true when we start. And down here, when game over gets called, game on is going to equal false. Okay, I don't know what that's going to do yet, but the whole point is once the timer hits the milliseconds, we're going to call the game over function. Okay, I've been setting up a structure here. I haven't actually made it do anything. But let's just make sure this is working. I'm going to console the game on variable to see if it works. Okay. 2, 3, Mississippi, 4, Mississippi, 5. Oh, Oh, I caught one. Okay. False, false, false. Okay, so it's working. So we have, but it's still doing that thing. So it's still calling it over and over and over again. But that's where this whole switch idea comes in. We're going to say if game over, no, if game on. I'm going to teach you a little trick. I don't think I've taught you this yet. If game on equals true, okay, that's usually what we write, right? And then we have our conditional, then we have our code block. If game on equals true, this can be shortened down to simply if game on. Because remember, whatever is in between these parentheses in the conditional statement has to evaluate to true or false. Well, game on is a Boolean variable. It's automatically either true or false. So you can just say if game on, and it's the exact same thing as saying if game on equals true. And if I want to know if game on equals false, I would say if not game on. Remember that bang operator? It means basically not, or sometimes the opposite. So if game on, then say game over, and game over switches it to false, so that's only going to happen one time. So once the timer hits, it's going to check and see if the game's on, and if it is on, it's going to turn it off. And we haven't made anything that turns it back on again, so we should only see one of these. In the console, it should only say false once. So let's do this. Wait for it. False. Okay, cool. So game over is only happening once. Okay, now what? Let's have it do something like show the score on the screen, maybe? How about that? That would be good. Game over, text, score, score. I'm going to write the word score plus counter. I'll put it up in the corner. See what happens there. Get some points. Points. Oh, do you see that? It just happened once. It just flashed. Because there's a lot of other things we have to do here. Notice game over doesn't actually take the gameplay away. So we have to find a way to make the paddle go away and the drops go away. And how do we get that text to show up and stay on the screen? So we're going to need now to really start thinking about the flow of the game. Because I can think of right now 3 different phases, right? You've got the opening screen with a button to start play. Then you've got the play mode. And you've got a game over mode. Then it's going to have a button to start play again. So this gets back to, remember the different states? What project was that? We did that in different states. I don't remember. We have different states for things. So we need to know which state we're in order to display the proper graphics for that state. So, okay, should I stop the video here and start on, gets a lot of little pieces, a lot of little bits and pieces. Okay, well, we got a game over function. Now, I'm going to stop that there. We made game over, and I'm going to start a new video where we deal with all the different states. Okay.